everyone, this is Keren from tuppencecoloured.co.uk. Thank you for joining me. This is what I'm going to be making today. It's a circle flip card, and when you open it, the cap moves. So if you want to see how I made it, stay with me and I'll show you. I've already cut a piece of Bermuda Bay card using the circle card thinlets die, and I also cut out a piece of Hello Honey DSP with the same die, and I just took my scissors and I just cut away the middle panel because I don't want that right at the moment, and I want to trim this piece down a little bit, because if I use it as it is, it will cover pretty much all of the underlying cardstock, and I don't want that. I want a little bit of the underlying card showing. So I'm lining up the edge of my DSP with the edge of the channel, it's the cutting strip that runs down the middle of my stamping trimmer. So it is about 1/8 of an inch, and I'm just going to chop that off, and I'm going to turn it over and do the same for that side. So if I bring the Bermuda Bay back in, you can see how that's starting to come together. Now I don't want this bit in the middle, so I'm just going to snip that off, and now I'm lining up the fold with the cutting channel. And I could take my scissors, but I've got this out, and the same thing for the opposite piece. Oops, keep that still, don't want that moving around. Alright, so now that is looking like that. And I'm also going to cut a little bit just off these edges of the card as well, because I want a border on that piece. So same thing again, just lining it up, holding it down firmly, and cut. And the same thing here. Now I wiggled my paper a little bit when I was cutting, so I want to make sure that it's this bit that aligns with my channel, and I want to make sure I hold it down firmly so it doesn't go moving around. Alright, so now that bit sits there and that bit sits there, so I'm going to put my stamping trimmer out the way because I'm finished with that. Bring in my silicone mat and my snail, and let's get sticking. I want to cut a slot in this edge of the card, so I'm closing my card up so that just this little bit is sticking out, and I'm going to bring in my curvy corner trio punch. Now this is a little bit fiddly because most of our punches will work very well upside down, but the curvy corner trio really does need to be pressed down because you need to get an even pressure on the top of it. So I'm just lining that up where I think I want it to be. I'm going to come in with my card, and it may bounce a bit, here's a warning. Okay, and that's fine. So now I have a little slot cut in my circle there. I want to cut a piece of card that will fit through the slot that I've cut. So I've got a piece of Bermuda Bay card, and I've measured this, and I know it's 1.5 inches wide, and I'm going to move it so that it's it's the 1.25 inch mark. I'm going to hold that down and slice along it, and now that piece of card should be 1/4 inch, and it should run through the slot, which it does quite nicely. Not too worried about the far end of it. I just want to make sure that this end runs through the slot. So here's my card base, and here's a bit of cardstock that I cut, and I'm going to thread that through the slot that I cut, and I'm going to close up the card. I'm going to close it all the way, and I'm going to keep that pushing, and I'm going to just put a little glue dot on there. And also, because this is going to be an action card and it will probably get quite a bit of action, I'm also going to apply a little bit of Tombow as well. So now I'm going to close the card shut. I'm not worrying about this end for a bit, I'm just closing that end. And now, come here. That moves through the card. While I was cutting out the card, I also cut out the scallop circle, which comes in the same set, and this is Hello Honey, and I also cut out some of the shapes from the cups and kettles piece, and I cut this one twice. I've sponged around the edge of this shape with some Hello Honey ink, and I've also sponged and stamped these two, and I just need to finish off the kettle, the teapot. It looks more like a teapot to me. I'm not calling it a kettle, but it looks like a teapot to me. A kettle, the handle of a kettle goes kind of over the top as far as I'm concerned. So I've got Watermelon Wonder ink and a finger door bar, and I'm just lightly catching the edge just to give it a little bit of dimension. It just makes it look a bit more shaped somehow. And the same thing for the lid. Okay, so that's enough, and I've already mounted up the 3 stars from the balloon celebration set. That's, where are they? Where are they? Can't see them. They're there. And I'm just going to put a pattern onto my teapot or kettle, just to make it a little bit more interesting. So what should we do? There, I think. And okay. And that's ready to go onto the front of my card. Here's my card front, and here's the scallop circle, which I've sponged up, and I'm going to stick that to the front of the card. And I'm going to use a few dimensionals, and I want to be careful about where I'm putting them, because I do not want that to foul the mechanism there, because I need that to be free running. So I'm going to put the dimensionals onto this piece rather than onto the bit that I'm going to stick down onto it, because normally you'd put the dimensionals onto the piece that's going onto your card. And I want to make absolutely sure that there are no dimensionals anywhere near that. And I'm being quite generous with them, because you know what? They're not expensive. And I think that's enough for now. So move my wine cork out of the way. Bring this in, and I want to line this up so that I'm giving myself as much room for my mechanism to run as possible. Now, before I really push that down, I'm just going to test that it still works, and it could probably do with coming over just slightly. I'm just going to move that just that way a little bit. so that it's not catching. Go. And yes, it's off centre, but don't worry. There we are. Now that now runs very freely, and we're going to stick the teapot on top of that, and the teapot will kind of disguise the fact that that is off centre. Well, that's the theory anyway. So, shall we do more dimensionals or shall we do snail? Snail, I think, because otherwise it starts to get a bit too... So, got a bit of snail. And keeping my teapot. There we go. And again, checking the mechanism, making sure nothing's fouling it. And it is a bit, so before the snail really grabs hold, we'll bring it across a bit. There we go, and that works much better. And I'll put the lid on. Again, lots of snail. And I think I'm going to have it flipping its lid. So put the lid at a jaunty angle. And there it is. I want to say sorry for the flicker in the last part of the previous segment. The reason for that is because I record with a webcam. I have to adjust my camera settings if I'm using artificial light, and what happened was the sun came out and it sort of overrode my camera settings, and I got the flicker. So I hope it wasn't too bad, but just going to carry on and hope it doesn't happen again. I've now drawn the curtains so that if the sun does come out again, it won't cause the same effect. So moving swiftly on. Now I want to work on the inside of the card. So I'm opening it up, and as you can see, I've got a long tail here. Now I'm not going to do anything with that just for 1 second. What I am going to do is, first of all, I'm going to put one of my cups on the inside of the of my circle part here. So I'm going to fit that one on, and this one is going to, I wanted to finish touched up against it like that. So I'm going to, before I cut anything, I'm going to test it with a little bit of, just a little bit of snail to begin with. So there's a little bit of snail on here just to hold it, because this part, for me, there's a bit of trial and error involved. So when it's closed, oops, come on. And I think maybe you see, don't want that to happen. So let's bring that right in there. And now when the cup opens, that's in about the right place. So, okay. So this time, I'm going to put a couple of glue dots on there. Now I know where I want it to be. And I'm putting a couple of glue dots because they've got a bit more stick than fuse. I can go ahead and I can chop off the bit that I don't need. I'm still using the Balloon Celebration stamp set, and I'm going to use the wording "Come, let us sit together and drink," and then you've got a lot of options as to what you can drink. You could drink champagne, you could drink hot chocolate, you could drink coffee, but I'm going to be using tea, so that it will say "Come, let us sit together and drink tea," because I think that it looks like a teapot, not like a coffee pot or a hot chocolate pot or any other kind of pot. So I've got a bit of Pool Party cardstock, and I'm using basic black, and my stamp is all mounted up on my block. And the beauty, of course, of the photopolymer stamp is that you can see exactly where you're putting it. Hold that down and count 1, 2, 3. I've got my silicone mat underneath to give me some cushioning, and there we are. So now I've got my elegant label punch, and I'm going to line that up. And there it is, and I just want to sponge around the edges of this with my Pool Party ink and finger dauber. You don't have to do this, of course, if you don't want to, but I think it just adds a little bit of dimension. It just makes it look a little bit more finished somehow. Right, so let's bring my card back in, and I've decided I want that to sit there, and I think a bit of fast fuse will do the job for me. So the trick with fast fuse, I have discovered, is to be fairly light-handed with it, to give it a light touch. There we go. And we're nearly done. Just want to add a few finishing touches now. I've cut these shapes, which I think are supposed to be curls of steam, out of some vellum, and I'm going to pop a few of them on with some glue dots. So I want to put one just inside here. It would have been good if I thought of this actually before I'd assembled the card. But I didn't, so shoot me. So I'm going to tuck that underneath there, so that I've got a curl of steam popping out of the inside of the teapot, and I think it just adds a little bit of something. So on the inside, I'm going to do the same on the cups. So for the fixed one, same thing again, glue dot on the bottom, and just tuck that inside, just like that. And this one, and I want to put some of our candy dots onto the label here, and I'm going to use the Calypso Coral ones from the Subtles. I'm just going to put, should I put 4? Should I put 2? I'll just have a look. Let's go mad and put 4. And they come along afterwards and take them off again, because I do these things. No, I think that's going to work. There we are. So here is the finished card. I do want to say that I did go back and I put another layer of card along the pull tab bit, just to make sure that it kept its rigidity, because I didn't want it flopping around in use. But otherwise, there it is. There it is done. And I do hope that you have enjoyed this tutorial, and I would love it if you would leave me a comment, or if you would click the like button. If you would like to see more of my tutorials, then please do subscribe to this channel, and there will be more along soon. I also have a blog. I've got a Facebook page. You can get there from the links in the information box underneath this video. And if you do want to find out more about the materials that I used and how to get them, well, there is a link to my Stampin' Up shop as well. But for now, I would like to say thank you very much for watching, and I do hope that you'll be back again soon. Bye bye.